Students of Success, Dr. Mike here. Today I want to talk to you about perspective. I say perspective on how we look at things in our life. And how we look at things in our life will determine who we are and the reality that we live in. So I wanted to start off by showing you a graph of how life happens to people and how we definitely respond to it. So in this first one here, think about this in life, okay? The ups and downs. Now, if you were just looking at that graph, you would say, okay, this is winning up at the top. Obviously, this is losing at the bottom. And as we're going through life, you see as we go up, you see these circles. And what is the result of these circles? We're down. But as we go down, what happens at that point? We have massive up. So if you were looking at this and you were going to say, how do I get to that top of that winning? Well, obviously, every time we had one of those downs, those dips, we had tremendous explosion of growth. So obviously, we need more of those to be able to get to the top. What are those things in life? Those things in life are situations that happen to us, maybe in our job, in our career, in our health, in our relationships. Let's take, for instance, right off the bat right there, one I talk a lot about is health. We're going along every day and all of a sudden you go to the doctors and he says, you know what, your heart's in bad shape, you're pre-diabetic, if you keep on this same track, you're not going to be around for very long. So that's when we have that dip. Out of that dip, at that point in time, the person has to have some realization and say, you know what, I need to make some changes. And all of a sudden you make these changes. You start on a workout program, you start eating better, you stop drinking, you stop smoking, you stop doing all these things. All of a sudden, we shoot way up in our health. And then whenever we get there in our health, we're like, okay, I'm feeling better. Maybe I'm gonna cheat and have some snacks and have a few drinks, whatever. Next thing you know, the line starts going down again. Then we have that realization, I got to make a change because my doctor's telling me that, or you've got yourself in shape and all of a sudden you start to see this gut forming again and you're like, I can't have this. All of a sudden then you shoot up again. So let's talk about our career. In our career, think about each one of those dips. At the top, not at the top, not at the bottom, at the top. How does that happen? Think about losing your job. And that brings us down. Think about receiving negative feedback, missing a promotion, encountering failure, experiencing burnout on the job. These are things that could cause, there could be these circles right here that could cause these downward things. Now, the question, how do you respond to these things? Now, the scale that I had right there, that would be somebody who is putting forth a certain effort here we'll be talking about to get to that top. But a lot of people, when they have those down ones like that, they take it as a negative. They become victims. I'm a victim of the system. I'm a victim of this. And I was thinking about this yesterday because I got my tax return back and I owe a massive amount of money. And my first thing was I felt like I'm a victim because I know once for the federal taxes, all this money that I send them is going to be shipped overseas to another country to help them out when our roads are falling apart, our schools are underfunded, the electricity goes out in our electric grid every time there's a windstorm or snow. So it just becomes so frustrating and you feel like you're a victim. However, you can't escape that. We start blaming others. Everything's always everybody else's fault. And these are the things that keep us in that dip. We lose confidence in ourselves, like we can't do it. Whenever, when we lose a job, that's what we're going to talk about right now. Or we have a setback in our job, or maybe certain money's taken away from us, or we get demoted, or we get put on a project that we don't feel like we deserve to be put onto, and it just kind of depresses us, brings us down. We end up resisting change. We sink into some type of a despair. That would be the loser's mentality. That's where you start to be on a path, and I'll show you the other path. This right here is not only the loser's path, but this is that one when I talk about paths that we're on. The one to the left is like, live for today, and I do nothing to improve myself because there might not be a tomorrow, so I'm going to drink, I'm going to party, I'm not going to do any personal development, and you end up being an absolute nothing in your life. Then that road straight ahead was status quo. And this is the road that most people are on. And if this looks familiar, this is the status quo. It almost looks like a heart monitor with death. We're barely surviving. So when people go along, something negative happens, then they do just enough to get back up to the status quo. Maybe something good happens to them. And I don't want to have to take on that responsibility. It's too much work. And down they go again to status quo. And then maybe they'll have an up and then a down. But at the end of the day, they're making absolutely no progress in their life. They're just trying to stay average and mediocre, which I believe is like kind of a sickness or a disease in this country right now. Because I talk about there's only so many tomorrows, that doesn't mean that you do nothing. That means every day we have to become a better person so that tomorrow is better. So when tomorrow does come, we are a higher version of ourselves. So how do we do that when these adversities come against us in life? It all comes down to our mindset. How are we thinking every day? And the same things happen to us all. Like I say, the same wind blows on all of us. But it's how we set our sail. And that sail is our mindset. So imagine if there's two people. And one person was thinking that way right there, where they're a victim, where they blame others, where they every time something happens and they lose confidence, they fall into that mediocre mode where they're like, I don't want to make any waves, I don't want to do anything, I just want to stay right where I'm at. I consider that the loser path, the status quo. Now, that person sees all those things happening that way. Then the other person comes along, and this takes a lot of training. They see it as an opportunity. This opportunity could be for some type of advancement. And I have faith. I believe in the universe. I believe in God. I believe in these things. That road to the right that I talk so much about, that is filled with ups and downs and rocks and cliffs and things where you're going to get dirty, you're going to get hurt. But the end of it is massive success, massive fulfillment, happiness coming from the pride that you made it over those cliffs. When you fell down, you got back up. So if something happens to you on your job, look at it as an opportunity for growth. You know, may seem like a setback to that person, but if you can see these things and say, okay, this might be setting me up for something bigger and better. So I'm going to put in the extra effort to make sure that this works. Maybe you're able to, this downtrend of these things happen, helps you develop your creativity, your problem solving, you're able to come up with solutions better. So it might be something minor now, but when something major happens, you're going to have that discipline of that mindset to be able to take anything that happens to you in your life, regardless if it's like I give you the example of a flat tire on the road and people bitch and moan and complain about this and that and everything, not realizing that flat tire may have just saved you and your family's life down the road from a major accident. Life is about how our mindset every day. And if we want to live in a positive way, you have to be able to see things that everything works to your advantage. And in the instant, we may get angry and we may see things as negative. But if we step back and we reflect and we say, how is this benefiting me? How can I spin this in a way that is going to allow me growth? Help me build resilience in all of the adversity that comes against me in life. It's like building a muscle. Your mind is that muscle. Imagine that the guy on the other side that's living this life right here, if he's got a flabby career, he's probably got a flabby body as well. And the guy who's trying to always make it up, to be strong and confident, probably has a strong, confident looking body as well. And that transfers over into your relationships as well. Being able to embrace change is another thing. When that person that's running the flat line, status quo, they don't like change. But life is about change every single day. Everything is changing. And if we can't adapt, adjust, and execute on these changes on a daily basis, it is going to put us into paralysis, and we're not going to be able to grow and get better and and achieve those things and become that person. And the last thing would be, whenever we see those dips, we have to be able to see the future. We have to be able to see the reward. Because if we can't see the promise, we're unwilling to pay the price. So through vision boards, through writing things down, through having goals, setting those things, just remember that. If we can't see the promise, we're unwilling to pay the price. And this is the problem with a lot of kids these days, because we're not teaching them that they can achieve things. It's not instantaneous. If things were easy, everybody would have it. If 100 people started a race and everybody finished the race, and we had to divide the prize up by 100 people, it would be useless. That's why we teach people to work hard. And whenever you go to the prize and only one person gets it, that's a prize. That's an incentive. Not to say that those other 99 people couldn't get to that part, but are they willing to pay the price for the prize? Most people are not willing to do it, so they're going to live a flat-line life. And I've talked in previous videos about the power of choice. And here's the thing. You choose if you want to live a flat-line life, or if you want to live a life that is going to take you up and up to your dreams. Don't hold back on your dreams. Don't hold back on your desires. Don't hold back on all of those things. Like I said, all of my stuff revolves around there are only so many tomorrows. We get one shot at this life. I see too many people living in this negative, nasty mentality that does them absolutely no good. And your job is not to go out there and change the world before you change yourself. Don't be giving people health advice until you are healthy. Don't give anybody career advice until you've got your career perfectly squared away. Don't give education advice. Don't give advice on anything to anybody that you have not already mastered. And that's vice versa. People are going to give you feedback, critiques, ideas, suggestions, nonstop, all the time. Look at who these people are. If they're living a flatline life and that's not what you want to do, you can listen to what they have to say, but let it go in this year, straight out this year, and just move on, because they're critics, and they like to be able to give advice, and they like to be able to talk, but most of them don't follow their own advice. Most of them have families that are completely wrecked and falling apart. If your kid's going off to a college somewhere and somebody else is telling you, oh, it's no good, this, that, and then you look back at their kids and they're working at McDonald's. Like, really? Do I really want your advice? Or they're trying to give you advice on health and diets and stuff like that, and they're 70 pounds overweight. They don't walk or run or take care of themselves. They smoke, they drink, they do these things, and they're trying to tell you how to live your life in this year, out this year. Live your best life. So, just to wrap that all up, adversity is going to come at every one of us. It all comes down to our mindset. You can live that flatline life, or you can live that mountain life that we're climbing with all of the ups and downs and ups and downs. That's the road to the right. That's the road that's going to lead you to success. That's the road that's going to lead you to self-pride, to feel good about yourself, to really like who you are, to give you that ultimate happiness. And when you do that, you will attract other people to you that want to live that same type of a life. And that's really what we want. we want to be surrounded by people that are positive energy, because everybody's energy vibrating at different frequencies. Unfortunately, most of this vibration around us is a negative frequency. It's like we're trying to combat it all the time. It's like it's coming at us 24 hours a day, this negativity. And the only thing that we can truly control in our lives is our own mind. I know it's incredibly hard. I fight with it daily. But when you develop a nice routine and you actually, instead of reacting to situations, you start responding to them after you've thought about stuff, and you first take on it is, how is this going to help me? So throughout the day, if you're listening to this, I want you to look around and everything that happens. Say somebody cuts you off in traffic. You get a red light. Anything that typically in a day that you say, this sucks, I'm late, all these things, I want you to turn around, I want you to think about what this is doing. Say there's somebody guiding you on your shoulder, and they made that car cut you off because if you would have kept going, maybe you'd have been in an accident. Same thing with the red light. You had to slow down. Maybe because you knew your phone was going to ring or a text message was going to come through, and if it would have stayed green, you would have looked at it, tried to answer it or something, and potentially been in an accident. But since there was a red light there, it gave you a second to look at your phone. Live that type of life, and it will revolutionize just your daily thought process, how you feel. You know, that's when you feel good all the time, because you know nothing can hurt you. Everything's an opportunity in life. You know, don't be a flatliner. Be a climber. And remember, there are only so many tomorrows. So make the best choices and live the best life. Take care, guys.